This Baldur's Gate 3 series covers how to do all major quests and missable content in order so that all achievements or trophies, choices, and major rewards will be available. We'll be striving to get the most optimal or good outcome for all companions, recruit the most allies, obtain all legendary weapons and armor, and have an overall satisfying playthrough. For best results, follow this series from the start of Part 1. Spoilers will be limited to important information, and as usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. When last we left off, we had just defended the Druid Grove from the Goblin threat, and spent some quality time with our companions at the Tiefling camp party. A warning here, besides Wyll, if we want to try and maintain a romance between two characters going into Act 2, such as Karlach and Shadowheart, it would be necessary to romance both before defending the Druid Grove from the Goblin raid. At which point, there will not be an option to romance anyone else during the Tiefling party. We will still need to choose one romance near the end of Act 2, and as long as we spent the night of the Tiefling party with Karlach, we will be able to get all achievements relating to companions. So you don't have to go back and redo anything if you are fine with that. But I wanted to put this option out there for anyone that really wants an additional romance option carried later into the game. To go along with that information, we will be covering the remaining unique Act 1 long rests as far as story, companion approval, and achievements are concerned. We will also want the silver pendant equipped for these long rests. For the first of them, which should center around Wyll and Karlach, we'll want to say just who in the 9 hells are you, and then we can say you better not lay a damned finger on Karlach to get approval from any nearby companions. After Mizora leaves, we can speak to Karlach and say he's a good man, maybe the best of us, to get more approval if it isn't already maxed. We can also speak to Wyll, eventually telling him you should get out of this pact, and we can beat her if we put our worms together to gain a good amount of approval. Finally, we can explore any remaining dialogue options with Wyll being either neutral or flattering to get even more approval. If you've been following this walkthrough closely, approval with Wyll should be nearly maxed out, despite being stuck at camp the entire time. When we go to bed, there will be another encounter with the Dream Visitor. This encounter may play out slightly differently depending on if we've opened ourselves up to any Mind Flayer parasites. The next morning, we can speak with our companions about the Dream Visitor. With Lae'zel, we can say, I distrust the Visitor too, for more approval from her. Long Rest 8 will start uneventfully, but there will be an encounter with Astarion once we go to bed. To get the Just a Nibble achievement here, we'll need to start by saying, why didn't you tell me, followed by I do, I believe you, and then fine, but not a drop more than you need. All of this will get us approval, and in order to avoid dying here, we will need to pass an easy persuasion check or a less easy strength check. We can speak with Astarion the next morning and learn more about his condition. Also, around this time, Scratch will bring us a ball. Passing one of the skill checks will get us the ball, and then we can throw it for Scratch to earn the Fetch Quest achievement. This will be delayed until the next long rest if we are doing these long rests before the Goblin raid. Speaking of which, if you are doing that, make sure to initiate a romance with whoever your second romance choice is through dialogue before the next long rest. With Shadowheart, that dialogue option is, I can't help but feel you and I might have missed a chance to connect, followed by, I'd like that, just lead the way. If you have any questions on how to romance another companion, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll do my best to help. After doing that, the next 1 or 2 long rests should be when the Act 1 romance scenes with Karlach and Shadowheart or another compatible companion occur. Around this time, if we're romancing Karlach, we can say I'd like to try cooling you down somehow, then hit her with a Ray of Frost to get a small additional romance scene. We can also speak with any other companion we romanced about the time spent together. After that, we can go defend the Grove from the Goblin raid and will be unable to romance anyone else at the Tiefling party that follows, besides maybe Astarion. Going to bed that night, we'll be given the option to think about any of the characters we are successfully maintaining a romantic relationship with. Whether you stayed the course with just one romance option or went back for another, we should all be on the same page at this point as far as story progression goes. The next long rest will feature an altercation between Shadowheart and Lae'zel. We will need to succeed on a persuasion check with Shadowheart, or else Lae'zel will be permanently lost as a companion. The morning after, we can speak with both Shadowheart and Lae'zel about the commotion, but they should start getting along better at this point. At the next long rest, we'll be approached by the Owlbear Cub when we go to bed. We will first need to succeed on an animal handling check, and saving is recommended. Then we can fetch a piece of food and toss it to the owlbear. This will get us approval with our nearby companions. The cub will run away, but don't worry, that is normal. Moving on to the penultimate long rest, the Owlbear Cub will return once more. This time, we can perform either a survival or medicine check to heal it, and success here will guarantee that the Owlbear Cub joins the camp. There's just one more left. After going to bed for this final long rest, we'll be awakened by a sound, which we will need to hurry towards. After calling out to the two pets, we can perform an animal handling check to learn about their budding friendship, and we can then pet Scratch and following this, pet the Owlbear Cub. Doing so will unlock the "You have two hands for a reason" achievement. The next morning, Scratch will bring us a bone if he hasn't already, and he will start bringing us more things every so often. At this point, we should also have the Find Familiar Scratch spell, which can summon Scratch once per short rest as a companion with a talent for finding secrets. And don't worry if Scratch is defeated in combat, he won't actually die, and can be resummoned after a short rest. With that all taken care of, we can go ahead and prepare for the day, then fast travel to the Myconid colony in the Underdark. We will pick up from where we left off back in part 3 of this series. The first thing we'll do is speak with Blurg. We can start with "I've never heard of the Society of Brilliance," and follow it with "A mind flayer infected me with a tadpole," then explain the whole story. At this point, we'll be introduced to a new NPC by the name of Omeluum. If we speak peacefully with Omeluum, they will eventually give us a quest. While here, we can also check if Blurg has any hill giant fingers, which can be used to make more elixirs of hill giant strength. Moving southwest, Sovereign Glut will ask if they can join us in our quest to defeat the Duergar invaders. After that, we can speak with Derryth Bonecloak and agree to help her find her husband Baelen. Derryth also sells some useful items that we will want, such as the Caustic Band, Ring of Jumping, and any elixirs of giant strength. Moving on, we can find Baelen to the west. There will be some Bibberbangs along the way, and a combination of Firebolt and Ray of Frost can deal with the obstacles quickly. We will want to avoid destroying any of the Bibberbangs down the vines and to the north, however, as Baelen is stuck right in the middle of them. He will warn us as we approach, and we can send Karlach to get his pack. We can jump up on the rocks jutting out from the western wall to avoid the Bibberbangs, then jump directly where Baelen's pack is. All that's left to do is to throw it near him, then retrace our steps back to safety. Afterwards, we can speak with Baelen for a small reward, then group back up and return south. Moving southwest, we'll need to defeat several hook horrors, and getting the jump on them is definitely recommended, and I cannot emphasize enough how powerful Karlach is with the returning pike here. There is also a mad drow here by the name of Filro, and we will need to defeat him. He will drop a scribbled note referring to the adamantine forge, as well as an ice crystal, which is a crafting component for a very rare magic staff. Running along the bark to the northeast, we can take a piece of Sussar tree bark. A tombstone can be found to the south, but we should leave it alone for the time being, at least if we want to get a unique and hidden interaction later on. Moving northeast, we can look over the beach where the Duergar attacked. We'll leave Karlach up here to provide cover with her returning pike, while we move the rest of the party towards the beach. Upon our arrival, we'll be confronted by Gekh. We can convince him that we are an ally and even show him that we have the boots he is looking for. We can then clear the area and have Karlach dispatch Gekh from a safe distance with the returning pike, using a potion of speed if necessary. At that point, we can have the rest of the party move in to help damage, reveal, and push the remaining Duergar into the open where Karlach can hit them, and Gekh drops the Exterminator axe when defeated. After Sovereign Glut sees that the Duergar are all gone, they will ask us to help defeat the current ruling Sovereign back at the Myconid colony. Instead of that, I put an end to Sovereign Glut. After grouping back up, we'll head down to the beach, activate the fast travel point, then continue moving southeast. Jumping a small gap, we'll go up the staircase to the southwest. This area is under protection by arcane turrets, but we can lower these defenses by activating the power generator on the bottom floor. As a monk, Karlach is the best choice for this task. We can separate her from the group and hide. Entering turn-based mode, we'll dash and use Step of the Wind dash. This will allow us to jump a total of 15 times in a single turn, which we can use to move south past all of the arcane turrets. We can then hop along the giant mushrooms to the west, eventually reaching the lower garden area of the arcane tower. We'll want to grab a Sussar blossom from under the nearby tree, then enter the arcane tower. We can insert the blossom into the power generator to activate the arcane elevator and lower the tower's defenses. At this point, we can bring the rest of the party into the tower, through an open window near the main entrance. We will descend 2 floors on the elevator to meet back up with Karlach. On this bottom level, there is a chest containing the Uncovered Mysteries rare magic necklace. Also, be sure to check the barrels and crates in this tower, as they can contain useful potions. The rows of books on bookshelves can also contain spell scrolls. Ascending 1 floor, we'll find the mushrooms we need for Omeluum's quest. The Timask spores are in the northwest corner of the room, and the Tongues of Madness are in the southeast. There is also a threadbare book on a shelf along the west wall that we must read. It should say, "How can I trust? How will I ever know?" And this is the first of several command phrases that we will want our character to read before going to the top floor. Ascending another floor, we will be back on the entrance level, where we can loot the crates for potions or ingredients. There is the Evil's Ascent book sitting on a stand in the northeast corner, and it will give us another command phrase when we read it. In addition, there is the Chest of the Mundane sitting on the northern balcony. The contents appear to be mundane things, but are actually revealed to be magical when looted. This includes the Mystra's Grace boots, which will allow us to cast Featherfall at will. I would also say that the Chest of the Mundane is certainly an interesting enough item to be sent back to camp. Going to the next floor up, we'll find the Mage's Friend in a bedside chest, a useful magic ring for certain skill checks. This tower also contains many unique books, all of which will contribute to the Bookworm achievement. There are several other tasks for us on this floor. On a table near the elevator is a torn out paper containing another command phrase. Right next to it is a Githyanki text cipher, which we will want to both read and pick up. In the southeast corner, we will want to read the "To the Grey" page on the ground, the "Roads to Darkness," and the handwritten letter on the table, as well as the engraved Githyanki disc up on the shelf. Upon reading it, Lae'zel will speak to us, and we should convince her to tell us what it says, and then to consider what it could mean if true. After this, we will want to save the game, just in case we missed something, then take the elevator to the top floor. When spoken to by Bernard, we should recognize the stanza and reply with, "Or art thou friend, a rescue from my lonely wake." We'll want to be careful when reading command phrases to Bernard, as the wrong one can turn him hostile. The phrase beginning with "The silence stretches on" will have Bernard give us a hug. The phrase beginning with "How can I trust" will have Bernard give us the guiding light ring. The final phrase is one we probably should not speak. "There is a light in every living thing" will turn Bernard and the nearby sets of animated armor hostile. Bernard drops a unique magic halberd, Light of Creation, when defeated, but we don't actually have to defeat or make Bernard permanently hostile to get the halberd. Instead, we can first equip Shadowheart with the Guiding Light ring. This will reveal a button on the elevator that takes us to the basement level. Once the whole group is there, we can ungroup Shadowheart and return to the top floor alone. After saving the game, we can use command drop on Bernard. It has a pretty good chance of succeeding, which will result in the Light of Creation halberd being dropped. We can then pick it up, which will cause everyone to become temporarily hostile. However, we will simply disengage and return to the basement, fleeing from combat if necessary. In my case, this just ended the combat and returned Bernard and the other to neutral status. Within the basement, we'll find more books and spell scrolls along with some basilisk oil, which we will want to save for later. There is also the Sparkswall magic ring in a gilded chest, and the Staff of Arcane Blessing leaning against a shelf nearby, which is great on Shadowheart and really buffs the power of her Bless spell. Next, we'll fast travel to the Selenite outpost, then exit through the window to the west. We'll want any characters without the alert feat, such as Karlach, to stay back and in hiding here, as there is an unavoidable ambush to the southwest. Quickly saving, we can head further west, springing the trap. After a short cutscene, we will face off with a Spectator. This is another boss that we really want to stun before it gets its own turn. That is because the Spectator will call reinforcements in at its first opportunity. Upon defeat, the Spectator will drop the very rare Spectator Eyes necklace. At this point, we can throw a Basilisk Oil onto the nearby petrified drow with 20 HP to free him. He is very likely to turn hostile in any exchanges that follow, and that suits us just fine. Upon defeat, he will drop the Blast Pendant Necklace, Memory Shard, and Icy Helve. The Icy Helve is the second component we've gotten now for the Icy Weapon, and we will be getting the final piece very soon. One last thing, down to the northwest, past several clouds of noxious fumes, we can burn through some webs and lockpick a chest to get some drow-studded leather armor. To complete the Masterwork Weapon quest, we'll want to make sure that we have a regular greatsword on hand, then fast travel to the Blighted Village. Going to the Blacksmith's Forge, we can activate the Melting Furnace, then stoke the flames with the bellows. We'll next need to insert the Sussar bark into the furnace, and follow it with a dagger, sickle, or greatsword. After a cutscene, we will get the completed Sussar weapon, as well as some experience for completing the quest. For a bit of an Easter egg, if we read the handwritten note at the Arcane Tower, we can actually return to the tombstone just south of the Sussar tree fast travel point for a new interaction. If we have some autumn crocus, we can place it near the tombstone in memory of Lenore's best friend. To my knowledge, that is the majority of important things to do in this section of the Underdark. We won't want to speak with anyone back at the Myconid colony until just after a long rest, but feel free to explore anywhere else you'd like, then take a long rest to get back resources. Given that we already long rested through all major events, we shouldn't have anything new to do. After the long rest, we can return to the Myconid colony and speak with Sovereign Spa. We want to choose the specific dialogue choice, the Duergar are slain, the rot has been purged, as this will give us a very useful buff. We can also accept the Sovereign's request for us to go deal with a drow named Nere. Before moving on, take note of the Bliss Spores condition, which will add a 1d6 to basically any d20 rolls we make before our next long rest, which is great. Next, we'll want to equip both the Headband of Intellect and the Mage's Friend ring. We can then go speak with Omeluum, letting them know that we found the mushrooms they were looking for. Drinking the resulting potion, we will need to make a series of saving throws, and Shadowheart can help out here with the resistance cantrip. Succeeding on all of these saving throws will negate any negative effects and instead will result in the unlocking of a new Mind Flayer power. It is called Survival Instinct and can be used once per short rest to protect a creature against being knocked unconscious for 3 turns. Because of the procedure's failure, Omeluum will consider giving us a ring of mind shielding, but requires some convincing. To peacefully gain the ring, we can say, "How about I tell you more about that nautiloid, every last detail," and must follow it by succeeding in either a performance or intelligence skill check. After that, we'll be able to purchase some useful magic items from Omeluum, including a Pearl of Power amulet, Boots of Stormy Clamor, and Ring of Salving. To the west, we can speak with Derryth to get the Gloves of Uninhibited Kushigo. We will also want to check her wares for useful potions and elixirs. Within the now opened cave to our immediate north, we'll find a drow body. The final component of the craftable weapon, Icy Metal, can be looted off the body, along with a book on flump mating rituals. An investigation check will reveal the true coded contents of the book. Combining the 3 icy components will craft the very rare magic staff, Morning Frost. It can be nice on Shadowheart to give her the Ray of Frost cantrip, but I'm not sure it beats the benefits provided by the Staff of Arcane Blessing. We'll be sure to loot everything else in this cave, including the rare magic hood, Shadow of Menzoberranzan, then fast travel to the Underdark beach. There, we'll want to save, then take the Underdark Duergar boat across the lake. We will be intercepted by another boat full of Duergar and can use the information we got from Gekh to pass without incident. Upon our arrival to the Grymforge, we can pretend to be true souls and decline the request for gold that follows. I also want to give a quick warning that upon our arrival, we will be on a timer of sorts to free true soul Nere. We will need to free and deal with him before leaving this area or taking a long rest, otherwise he could die, which will result in the Deep Gnome slaves being lost as well. Once free to move around, we can go to an elevated spot a short distance south, enter turn-based mode, then cast a spell like Summon Familiar Scratch or any other leveled spell. As a Storm Sorcerer, this will allow us to use Tempestuous Magic Flight to fly up to the elevated ledge nearby. You may need to use Tactical Camera, which can be toggled with the O key, to be able to see the ledge properly and fly to it. Up here, we'll find an Idol of Shar, along with a chest containing the Protectee Sparkswall rare magic robes. These are very good and thematically fitting for a Storm Sorcerer and pair exceptionally well with the Spell Sparkler staff. We can fast travel to the Grymforge to easily get back down, and then give the Idol of Shar to Shadowheart for some unique dialogue, along with a massive boost in approval if it's not already maxed. Next, we can equip the Headband of Intellect, then speak with Stonemason Kith to the north. If we agree to help him, then pass all 3 of the following skill checks, he will give us a free piece of Infernal Alloy, which I believe is similar to Infernal Iron. We can also trade with Gekh, and he occasionally has useful stuff on offer. Moving further north, we can loot the Dark Justiciar skeletons for some unique items, also triggering an interaction with Shadowheart. Avoid saying they are better off dead if you want to avoid some major disapproval. Further north, we'll find the Herdmaster, and we can agree to help him get the Rothays working. Then, after succeeding in an animal handling check, encourage the Rothays to turn on the dwarves. While they do have sellable loot, none of the dwarves have anything unique, so pushing them off the edge is a completely valid strategy. We will just need to be careful not to end up on the receiving end of that tactic. Afterwards, we can interact with the Rothay and have them destroy the rubble. This path leads to the Adamantine Forge, which we will go to after dealing with Nere. For now, if we backtrack a short distance, then move out west, we'll come to a ledge overlooking 3 chests. These are all mimics, and we can use the returning pike on Karlach to make short work of them from this vantage point. We will just want to step back from the ledge before ending our turn to avoid getting lashed by any of the mimics. If they end up hiding behind walls, Magic Missile can be used to clean them up. There is also a locked and trapped chest to the north across a gap, and it contains the real Sparky Sparks Wall shield. We can then circle around to the south to safely reach that area with the mimics. One of the mimics will contain the Wondrous Gloves. We can then interact with a toy chest at the bottom of this area to reveal a trapped chest that we will want to equip the Gloves of Thievery to disarm. The chest will contain a Scroll of Evidence, which contains some interesting information. Moving a short distance east of the fast travel point, then turning north, we can speak with the dwarves near a bunch of gnome bodies. We can then perform a couple of skill checks to get the Fetish of Kalar Durin Smoothhands, a magic ring, without setting off any alarms. Next, we can unlock the door to the east and click the button in the northeast corner, opening a secret passage. Walking into the following room, we'll be ambushed by 3 ochre jellies. While they are easy to hit, they are also fairly tanky and can hit hard. Because of that, it's best to take them down one at a time, then retreat to cover to avoid their attacks. After the fight, we can move up to the northeast and make use of that rare ring we just got. Before entering the Contemplation Chamber, we will ungroup from the party, equip the ring, turn ourselves invisible, then sneak up and around the gnome named Philomene to steal the rune powder barrel. This will leave Philomene with no other option than to let us have it. After a short conversation, she should leave without further incident. This rune powder barrel is basically a nuke and could come in handy at some point, but for now I'll just send it back to camp. Moving on, south of the fast travel point, we can speak with Elder Brithvar. We'll need to make sure we move close to him before initiating a conversation, or else he may bug out and refuse to speak with us. We can use a combination of deception and persuasion checks to form an alliance against True Soul Nere. Brithvar will ask us to eliminate the Scrying Eye, but as far as I can tell, this is unnecessary. Further south, we can speak with Sergeant Thrin and give her the Boots of Speed. Don't worry, we will be getting these back in a moment. We can then choose to receive either the Bracing Band or the Armor of the Uninhibited Kushigo. Neither are particularly good, but I went with the armor given that it is part of a set. Next, we will ungroup one character from the party and have them go to camp alone to grab a smoke powder barrel. We will place it near the rubble, short rest if needed, save, and blow it up. After blowing up the rubble, True Soul Nere will emerge. We'll tell him to stop killing the gnomes, then say, "That's your cue, Brithvar, it's time you got paid," and side with Brithvar. At the start of combat, we can cast Twin Haste on Karlach and Lae'zel to help them take down threats faster. We will want to prioritize defeating or stunning the two Mind Masters, as they can dominate our characters, which is really detrimental. True Soul Nere takes priority if he is going before Karlach in the turn order. With both Haste and Action Surge, Lae'zel should be able to take him down in a single turn. Also, don't stand near the lava or other edges, as that is a good way for us to get instant killed. After the first fight, Brithvar will try to extort us. We can either do some skill checks for a fair deal and the freedom of the gnomes, or we can just attack him. Given that he and his fellow slavers have some unique magic items, I went with the latter. There is also no need to wait until after the initial bout ends to do this. We can just start attacking them once Nere's forces are almost entirely defeated. Once all the fighting has ceased, we can speak with Barkus Root and convince him to rest at our camp. We can also speak with Beldron to witness a happy reunion and agree to free Wulbren from Moonrise Towers. There are a ton of magic items scattered across the bodies, including the Bow of the Banshee, Jorgarol's Greatsword, Shining Staver of Skulls, Cap of Wrath, Deep Delver, Ring of Absolute Force, Boots of Speed, Nere's Head, Sword of Screams, and the Disintegrating Nightwalkers, which are a great mobility item. There is also a Broken Moon Lantern, which we can investigate for information, but is otherwise unimportant to succeed in. We can also cross the chamber to the southwest and go out the doors on the other side to catch a glimpse of a future destination. East of the fast travel point, we will need to defeat some remaining Duergar, then speak with Skikpit and tell him to join the others at the dig site. If you want to fully explore the long route to the Adamantine Forge, return to the path that was opened by the Rothays north of the fast travel point. That said, I'm going to simplify this section by having Karlach go solo to grab the bare essentials. Starting at the dig site, we can cross a beam over a stream of magma, then jump east up to an elevated area. From there, we can jump north up to an even higher area, and continue moving north until reaching a pair of iron doors. After picking the lock, we can move to the back of this room and loot a shield mold off the skeleton there. If we go through the locked doors to the south, we will trigger a combat encounter that I personally prefer to avoid. In any case, we can return south, use the Featherfall boots, then jump back down to where we came from. We'll grab the splint mold, then head southwest to activate the fast travel point here. Only 2 pieces of gear can be made from the Adamantine Forge, and I'll be getting the shield and the splint armor. Given that, we'll just need to get some mithril to make those items with. For that, we'll start by heading southwest and dispatching these sets of animated armor. By the way, I am a huge fan of chucking them into the lava below. Afterwards, we can send one character to harvest the mithril vein located west of the lava. Karlach can make use of the Featherfall boots again here, jumping south down to the ruins in the middle of a lake where an adamantine chest is located. Once we crack the DC 20 lock, we will be rewarded with a magic and sentient amulet that has specific benefits for monks. We can fight the roaming lava elemental if we want, but it doesn't drop anything unique, and we've got some tough fights ahead. Next, we can save, then regroup at the fast travel point and head down the central staircase towards the forge. Halfway down, there is a path leading northeast to a second mithril vein. We'll want to be careful as there are several enemies waiting in ambush. It's a good idea to send one character with the alert feat in while everyone else hangs back. Once the ambushers do emerge, we can have the rest of the party join the fray. The mephits explode, so we will want to stick to ranged attacks when possible. Also, some will use the heat metal spell against us, which can make us drop our weapons. Because of that, we'll want to make sure we don't leave our legendary sword behind. After the fight, we can harvest the mithril, and we should also be getting to level 6 right about now. At this level, Storm Sorcerers get access to several spells for free, including Thunderwave. Because of this, we can switch out Thunderwave as a learned spell for something else, such as Counterspell. We also learn one additional spell of our choice as usual, and a Lightning Bolt is always nice to have on hand. Shadowheart will gain an additional Channel Divinity charge, as well as improved Warding Flare. As a monk, Karlach gets a huge upgrade at level 6. Unarmed attacks are now considered magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances, and we can toggle passives that add additional necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage to each punch. We also get Wholeness of Body, which we can use once per short rest to really crank up our damage potential. Fighters like Lae'zel gain an extra feat at level 6, and will be taking Great Weapon Master or Alert, whichever one we don't already have. To prepare for the upcoming boss fight and to get the A Grim Fate achievement, we will want to equip Lae'zel with a two-handed blunt weapon, and the Hammer Raft is a good choice. Next, we'll move everyone down to the forge. We can insert the splint mold into the mold chamber, then put a piece of mithril ore in the crucible. Once everyone is a safe distance back, we can pull the forge lever. Because the crucible is cold, the only effect this will have is to lower the platform. Now we definitely want to wait on opening the lava valve until we are ready for a fight, and positioning is really important here. Lae'zel and Karlach should be positioned up on the platform near the lava tube. Shadowheart can stand near the valve control, and we will want to move to a position as far away as possible on our sorcerer. Before doing that, we can enter turn-based mode and cast Twin Haste on both Karlach and Lae'zel. In addition, Shadowheart can give everyone the upgraded Bless thanks to her staff. Once that is done, we'll position our sorcerer far from Karlach and Lae'zel near the forge lever, then pass one turn. At this point, we will save the game in case things go catastrophically wrong. Finally, we can use the Wholeness of Body on Karlach, then direct Shadowheart to open the valve and start the fight. To begin, we can use 2 Flurry of Blows topple on the Grim to hopefully knock it prone. It's immune to stun, so stunning strikes are wasted on it. Assuming it is knocked prone, we will proceed to hit the Grim as many times as possible. We need to defeat it without the use of the Forge Hammer in order to get the associated achievement. To that end, we will next hit the Grim with Lae'zel. We can toggle on the all-in passive to deal more damage, but it will lower our chance to hit. This can be compensated for by using something like an Oil of Accuracy, as well as the Precision Attack maneuver. If we do this all correctly and most or all of our attacks hit, we can defeat the Grim before it even has a chance to act and make our lives miserable. It drops the very rare Grimskull Helm when defeated, which is great on Lae'zel. In addition, we can have Shadowheart open the lava valve back up, then pull the forge lever with another character. This will craft a specific item depending on what mold we used. In our case, it was the splint armor. The adamantine splint armor is very rare heavy armor and an incredible upgrade for Lae'zel. We can make one more piece of adamantine gear, and while the medium scale armor is certainly good, I actually prefer the luminous armor on Shadowheart. So I will instead be making an adamantine shield for Shadowheart to use. We can pull the mold ejection lever, insert the desired mold, put a piece of mithril in the crucible, then repeat the smithing process. At this point, we can return to the Myconid colony and report our success to both Thula and the Sovereign. We will be rewarded with the Envoy's Amulet. We will also get the title of Kin Spirit if we tell the Sovereign that we've defeated Sovereign Glut, though I'm not entirely sure what that does. We can go ahead and take another long rest. There, we can speak with Barkus Root and assure him that we will both rescue his friend Wulbren and stop the destructive plot of the Iron Hand Gnomes. That will need to wait until we visited the Githyanki Creche in the Mountain Pass, which will be covered in Part 6. In the meantime, feel free to return to Thula to see her reunited with her gnome allies and finish up any other exploration within the Nautiloid Crash region or Underdark. If you have any questions, you can reach out in the comments where I'll do my best to help. If you want to watch Part 6, you can find it over on my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat, her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day if you're here today, have a great Saturday, and a great weekend. And as always, thanks for watching.